The gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Grothman, is recognized.
Right. First of all, I'd like to refer to a letter here that I'm going to submit to the committee from a group called Family Action, or Wisconsin Family Action, Wisconsin Family Council, which I dealt with a lot when I was a state legislator. They were attacked with Molotov cocktails in Madison, Wisconsin. The reason I bring it up is not just that they were attacked, but the apparent lax or uncaringness of the law enforcement in Madison, Wisconsin. This is a disturbing trend we've seen around the country. We know there were a variety of cities in which riots broke out a couple of years ago, including both in Madison and Kenosha, Wisconsin. Both times it didn't seem like law enforcement would engage the rioters. And I think the reason they didn't is that the political leaders felt that if you were doing something that was the far left, which sadly runs your party today, we will allow people to physically attack you, almost kill you in this case, and we won't do anything about it. But I think it's something that should be in the record. I think it's something that perhaps other congressmen on this committee would like to read to see where we're headed as a country. So I'd like to ask this letter to be submitted.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now, I have a few questions here. I know in Wisconsin, abortion was legal at the time, or abortion was illegal at the time Roe v. Wade went into effect, and in fact, the statute that was in effect was put in place in, I believe, 1849, either 1848 or 1849. Could you comment on, in our country, the state of laws regarding abortions at the time Roe v. Wade went into effect? Ms. Hawley.
So absolutely. At the time Roe versus Wade went into effect in 1973, as I mentioned in my opening testimony, that decision, that judicial decision, again decided by 7 male authors, overturned the pro-life laws of nearly every single state. If we look back in time to 1868, when the 14th Amendment was passed, nearly 3/4 of the states criminalized abortion. So you just can't look at any point in our nation's history and derive some sort of right to an abortion. In fact, the opposite is true, and our country and the states have long protected life.
Okay. And I believe there were, what, either 2 or 3 states in which abortion was legal in 1973, is that right?
That's correct, but with significant restrictions.
Okay. Next question. At the time, and you said this before, but I think it's something that merits people pondering on as to where we are in morality in this country. The state of ultrasound today compared to 1973, when almost every state realized that having an abortion, killing that little baby that we've all seen in the ultrasounds today, was an horrific thing. But could you comment on the change in the status of ultrasounds between then and now?
Absolutely. So we've had 50 years of scientific advances, and everyone that's attended a pregnancy ultrasound at various points, you know, at 6 weeks, you have the heartbeat. At 8 to 10 weeks, most of your internal organs for the baby are forming. And now we even have 3 and 4D ultrasounds that allow you to see the baby's face. You can even sort of determine what it is they are going to look like when they are
much
born.
more obvious today that abortion is horrific than it was in 1970.
Absolutely. And in fact, if you look at page 2, I believe, of my written testimony, we have an example of an ultrasound in 1973 and one today at 15 weeks, and the differences could not be more stark.
Okay. This idea of abortion, and particularly even late-term abortion in places like North Korea, China, Vietnam, some of the most repressive countries in the world. We know what's going on with the Uyghurs there in China. Do you want to comment in general on the type of countries that would consider it important to legalize abortion?
Absolutely. So we see totalitarian regimes such as North Korea, such as China, who is...
Not just totalitarian. I want you to comment on the belief in God.
So I think we see in these countries the idea that life is not precious, that life is not valuable. Again, if you
What do they do to churches in North Korea or China?
Neither are churches valuable in North Korea or China.
Right. People there, do the people who run the country believe in God?
So I think they prosecute the church there, sir.
Right. Is there a correlation then between countries that allow abortions, late-term abortions in particular, and countries that almost the state religion would be atheism?
So I'm not
Gentleman's time has expired. Briefly answer. Really.
So one interesting thing is that when Christianity was born, one of the Roman culture that Christianity emerged from was one in which was devastating to young children. Parents had superintending rights. A child had no right to life.
The gentlelady's time has expired. We have to keep into our time frame. Mr. Raskin, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.